Hello, welcome back to another video. Today I'm just going to run you through the gear that I used for the Silk Road mountain race. Now I've already done a separate video on the bike, just sort of detailing all the components. So in this one I'm just going to be undoing all the bags and just showing you exactly what I used for the race. Now the Silk Road mountain race is characterised by variable conditions. I saw the highest temperature I saw while I was in Kyrgyzstan was 42 degrees. The lowest was -4, so there's huge swings, 45-degree swings in temperatures. So you need to pack accordingly. It's also very remote. You need to be self-sufficient. So I think it's quite a different spec list or kit list to certain other events. I did the event in 2023, and this is kind of like a fine-tuning of that. Certain things work really well for me, other things I thought I could change a little bit. So this is what I used. So I'll start with the rear pack. Now this is the Tailfin Aeropack Cargo, and I chose this because I need capacity basically. I'm a believer in not kind of packing too neatly. You can pack really neatly and make everything nice and compact when you're at home before the trip, but then when it's 4 o'clock in the morning, below freezing, and you're trying to pack everything in your bags, there's no way it's going to go in the same way. So with that in mind, the Tailfin Aeropack is great because you can just open it up. There's a really good compression strap. And then there's a really big opening and you can just chuck everything in there. And I certainly did that during the race. The other benefit is they've got these side nets, and I basically stuffed these with food. There's not much in it now, but at times they were sort of overflowing. And also some essentials. So there's some toilet paper and some baby wipes. I'll let you figure out what they're for. But let's just say there's not much toilet roll available in Kyrgyzstan. So in the rear here, I tended to put extra food when I needed it, so at times it was really kind of quite only just shutting, but I had this was my bag that I could sort of get wet essentially. So the front bag was for dry gear. I'll come on to that in a while. The back was things, for example, my bivvy, if it was damp in the morning, I didn't want to put it in there with something like a down jacket and then get the down jacket wet. So in my head I sort of split the bike. Rear could be a bit wet, front's fully dry, and then obviously excess stuff in the rear. So I had this little musette from Albion. I took a load of food with me. So this has just got, I actually took these Sturka caffeine energy mixes. There was a section of 400k without resupply, and I just wanted to take some extra stuff. Carrying energy powder is a really efficient way to carry a lot of calories. 100 grams of carbohydrates in here, so that can get you out of trouble when needed. Also had some chlorine tablets, sort of the rest of my supply. The other stuff was sort of closer to hand at the front. Some rehydration stuff, and I also started with a few other snacks and things, but I just kept it in this little bag just to keep things nice and neat, and so it wasn't a total bomb site when I opened the bag. Also in here, my Albion Zoa rain trousers. Again, these were for rain and also for keeping warm. So yeah, you could chuck these on nice and easily. And yeah, quite often in the morning I wore them when it's cold. There wasn't too much rain. I had a bit of snow, so I didn't really get sort of the total downpour, but at least they keep you dry when that happens. So yeah, I kept those in the back. Again, you don't sort of put them on and off all the time, so it's a bit, when you do need to put them on, you need to be off the bike. So it wasn't so much of an issue having them in the rear pack. Other items I kept further up, so I didn't have to get off the bike physically to get them out. So that was my Albion rain trousers. Also had a dry bag here. This was just some spare clothes, a second set of shorts essentially. So this was a set of Albion. These are the ARB1 pocket bib shorts. Obviously I had a set on me as well, but yeah, you're not really going to do any laundry on the Silk Road race. You're lucky if you stay inside. So essentially I had one set to start in. I wanted to keep one set dry just in case I got totally soaked and I could have a dry set of kit, or a nice kind of halfway refresher of shorts. So that was those. I also had a second set of socks. I had actually these ones, these just standard cycling socks. Then I had these are really good POC merino socks, really quite lightweight. I've not really found anything else quite like them. Actually, these did the Silk Road with me back in 2023. So yeah, kept those in there in the dry bag just to keep them a bit drier. So yeah, and obviously if there was any moisture in here, it's not going to sort of soak in through the dry bag. So yeah, that was my sort of spare clothes. And then the main thing in here was the bivvy, and I thought long and hard about bivvy, and I basically stuck with what I used in 2023. Now, some people use really lightweight, ultralight tents, kind of sub-kilo tents. Other people just have a really warm sleeping bag and a standard bivvy. I went for this Rab bivvy, so it's a hooped bivvy. You can see the poles here. So this is the Rab Ridge Raider. Now this is one of the first bits of bikepacking gear I brought. It's probably 12, 13 years ago now. So it's pretty heavy. It's made out of ibbett fabric, and basically the reason I decided to choose this is because I trust it. And yeah, it's not, you can buy lighter tents than it. It's about 800-900 grams with the pole. However, there are lighter bivvies available, but I just find they get really like clammy inside. They can get a lot of condensation. This isn't totally immune to condensation, but the ibbett fabric is really quite good. It also is quite breathable. So I did consider using the Outdoor Research Helium bivvy, which is very popular. However, that's Pertex fabric, and it just doesn't breathe, and you can't fully zip it up because you basically suffocate. So yeah, I found this is good because the ibbett does breathe. It's a bit more waterproof. You don't get quite so much condensation, and also you can fully zip it up and still, you know, get oxygen in. That's really good because it means it keeps it warmer. So essentially my compromise was take a really warm bivvy bag. It's a bit heavier, but I cut back on the sleeping bag, so I had a much lighter sleeping bag. It worked really well in 2023, and again this year it worked really well. You may notice as well, it's all just bundled up. I've got my trusty Rab Neo Air full-length sleeping mat. Again, I bought this at the same time as the bivvy. It's over 10 years old. Really warm, very lightweight, and yeah, I just fold the two up together, chuck it in. I don't want to be, you know, folding precisely and put them into small putting stuff into small bags and then neatly arranging. The benefit of the cargo aero pack is that I can just bundle it all up at, you know, 4 in the morning, shove it in, and you know, there's plenty of space, and I don't have to be too neat or tidy about it. So that's the rear pack. Now I'll move on to the frame pack. Now this, if you've seen the bike check, you'll know, is the custom pack I've used for a couple of races now. 2 sections. So the top section carried all the clothing that I used for the event, like cycling specific clothing, stuff that I wanted quite quickly. I didn't want to be messing around in bags, having to get off the bike. I could take things out as I was riding, or at least just stop, take it out, put it on without having to sort of mess around with the aero pack. So in here, I'll show you what I had. So first up, this is my my Pertex gilet from Albion. Use this quite a lot. It's quite good. You can just chuck it over a jersey on top of a descent or over some insulated layers. I find gilets really good for giving a lot of extra warmth for not much bulk. It's probably my go-to piece of equipment on pretty much any ride. Always take a gilet with me. So yeah, really flexible. Packs down small, so I'd take that out, put it on as I was riding along. Sometimes put it in my pocket, sometimes put it back in. Just depended on the scenario. So yeah, that's the Albion Pertex gilet. Also in here, I had a base layer. It's actually one of the old Rafa merino mesh base layers. I've never found anything quite as good as these. This is pretty threadbare now, but this is my sort of dry layer. Now I didn't really wear it under my cycling jersey, so I had the Albion Traverse cycling jersey. So if I was wearing that, I tended not to wear a base layer, and I tried to keep this separate. So I wore this when it was cold or at night. I didn't want to get it super sweaty during the day. So when it came to sort of the evening, the temperatures dropped very fast in Kyrgyzstan. So what I do is I take off my cycling jersey and then I just put this on, and it'd be a bit drier. Obviously it doesn't smell so much. And then I'd layer on over the top of that. So yeah, that's the base layer. I also have these leg warmers. I mean, leg warmers are quite personal. These are Spats leg warmers, a small British company. They fit my legs really well. I'm really lanky, really skinny legs, and leg warmers tend to fall down or be baggy around the ankles, but I find these work. They're kind of like a one-piece knitted kind of design. I find the ridges and stuff as well keep a bit of extra warmth in, especially under the Albion waterproof trousers. So yeah, just again, something that works really well for me. So yeah, put those down there. Then I have POC arm warmers. I actually used these in 2023 on the race. They seem to work very well for me. Again, much like my legs, my arms are quite long and skinny. Arm warmers can be baggy around my wrists or fall down, but I find these work very well and they fit. So I kind of stick to what I know. So that's the arm warmers. Next up, I guess we're on to gloves. So I had a couple of gloves, layers of gloves. So I guess the start layer was just my mitts. Again, these are POC mitts. They're I can't remember the name of them. They're bright orange, in case you haven't noticed. So actually on the road, I do find that you just can't miss them. So they always seem to stand out in photos. So I assume that means that drivers can see them a bit better, especially if you're moving your hands around or indicating. But they also have this pad in the middle of the palm, sits right in the middle. Now, it's not massively big, but I find it's quite comfortable, and I don't really sort of get any hand problems with these. So that's the mitts from POC. And then I guess the next layer is the warm layer. Now I've got these pedal leg gloves. They've got the, so it's like the active, I think, insulation inside them, from it's Polartec stuff. Oh no, it's Polartec Alpha. I did have a set of DHB gloves, which sadly met the end of their lives. So the only equivalent I could find was these from Pedaled. They're probably not quite as good as the DHB ones I had, in terms of fitting me anyway, but they're pretty good, very warm for the weight. No padding in them, so basically I could fit them over the mitts, and yeah, I use these quite a lot. Not really waterproof, but that's where the next layer come in. And for that I use these kind of waterproof lobster gloves. These are from Sportful, and I could basically chuck these over any of my other gloves. So the split fingers, so you can still operate the brakes and things. I didn't have to use them too much in the race, but these were used either when it was absolutely freezing or hammering it down with rain. Thankfully there wasn't too much rain, but I did use them a couple of times. The top of the hiker bike, a 4,000 metre pass when it was snowing, was one moment I did use these. So yeah, they're from Sportsful. I'm not quite sure the name, but yeah, that's my glove system, and it really did seem to work very well. Other stuff in here, there's a little headband. I didn't actually use this this time round. I had a hood on my active layer from Albion, which I'll show you in a minute. So it meant I didn't use that quite as much. I probably didn't need to take it, but it didn't weigh very much, so it's not the end of the world. I had this merino neck warmer from Albion. Again, I had this new layer from Albion, which I was using. So I think the one thing I would have changed is I wouldn't take this headband, and I wouldn't take this. I'd take the balaclava I took in 2023, because I found it was just a bit warmer, and having sort of a few different layers meant there was a few little gaps. The balaclava worked really well when it was sub-zero. I didn't take it with me. I kind of missed it. So yeah, next time I shall take that. Then I had some waterproof socks. Didn't have to use them too much, but again, I could layer these over my other socks. Overshoes aren't really good in Kyrgyzstan. They're going to get water in them. They're going to get ripped off. They're going to get, smashed up in hiker bikes. These are from Altura. So these fit over my other socks. So it's like a 2-layer, and fit inside the shoes. I wear them when it's really, really cold, either really cold or raining. They've worked well for me in the past. I used these in 2023 on the Silk Road Mountain Race. So yeah, good product, do the job. And finally, just a couple of bits in here, foil blanket and a bandage, part of the essential kit list. Don't take any room, so I'll just leave them in there and hope I don't need them. Now, onto the lower section of the frame bag, and this is kind of spares. So I've got my pump in here, Crank Brothers pump. It's like a double kind of, it's 2 modes, sort of high volume or high pressure. Got a load of tape around there, didn't have to use it, so that's good. Basically, I don't want to use anything that's in this section, because that means something's gone wrong. I've carried a little pot of sealant, just in case, tyres can dry out a bit. If I cut a tyre and lost a lot of sealant, I could just top up and keep tubeless running. So I kept that in there. And then I have my spares. So that's just in a little package I'll show you in a second. Then I had 2 inner tubes and a spare cable for my shifter and gears. So yeah, that all sat in there. And then in here was kind of the tools and spares that I wouldn't need sort of urgently as such. So there's a little pot full of bolts, patch kits, things like that, chain links. There's a penknife, my trusty penknife. I've had this since I was about 10 years old. It's come on all my races with me. There's one of these restrap tyre boot kits. Not had to use it, but won't be going without it. I had a replacement hanger. You're not going to find a replacement hanger in Kyrgyzstan. You need to take it with you. I had my little Leatherman, again, done a lot of trips with me. Pair of pliers on there. Always useful to have pliers. You never know when you might need them. It could be for biomechanics, could be for pulling a thorn out or something like that. I had some brake pads. I had a lot of sets. I had 3 pairs of brake pads. Again, these are some Swiss stop ones. If you saw the bike check, you'll see that I was really raving about Swiss stop brake pads. Didn't have to replace them, but you know, you're not going to get any replacements in Kyrgyzstan. You need everything with you. So yeah, that's those in there. Then I've got my little wolf tooth chain tool and some spare links, just to sort of, in case I need to take the chain off or mess around with that. Needle and thread, again, you need that in Kyrgyzstan. If you don't have it and you split your tyre, you're not buying a new tyre. You need to have everything you need to replace stuff. Some more bolts, and then a spare cleat, because if you lose a cleat, again, you need to replace it. And there's a lot of hiker bike and cleats can get pulled off, so it's always worth having a spare with you. So yeah, so that's all the sort of spares in the bottom part of the bag. So I'll come on to the top tube bag now, and this is the tail fin top tube bag with a flip top. Really easy to get into, pretty waterproof. In actual fact, this did the Silk Road with me back in 2023 as well. So this is things where I want to be able to, you know, either use things I use regularly or things I want to grab quickly. So my camera, trusty film camera, hopefully got some nice shots from the race and the touring beforehand. My multi-tool, I tend to keep this in the top tube bag rather than this section, because you know, it's little things like straightening the stem or just tightening a bolt. If it's there to hand, you're more likely to do it. I'm terrible for just letting a problem slide because I can't be bothered to dig everything out. So yeah, I always keep that in the top tube bag, so it makes life nice and easy. Then I have my helmet lights, clips onto my helmet, backup for the main light, and also when you're going at slower speeds on a climb, sometimes you need a bit more light. So this is the exposure joystick. It's a Mark 14, I've had it for years, done a lot of races with me. Really rate them. So yeah, that's that. And also some cables, spare cables in here, just a bit of a mix, some duplicates, some other ones like the charger for the joystick, things like that, they just stay in there out of the way. Some chain lube. I had about 3 of these little mini squirt wax chain lubes. I'm a big fan of wax lube. Do have to apply it a little bit more when it's wet, but I always start with a wax chain as well. I think it just gives you a bit more run time before you start needing to apply extra lube. So yeah, those are in there. And then I had sunscreen, pseudo creme. Again, you don't want to be using pseudo creme, but when you need it, you need it. Hand sanitizer, again, not getting ill is really important on the Silk Road mountain race. So yeah, wash your hands, you know, wash your hands after you go to the toilet, wash your hands before you eat, give yourself a fighting chance. So all of that stuff was in there. And then I had a couple of tyre levers, I had a little knife. One thing, this was an addition to my kit list from 2023. I ate a lot of cheese sandwiches and I had nothing to cut my cheese up. So this is basically my cheese knife, just a real lightweight little folding knife, and I use that a lot to make food. I then had my diner plug and some spare darts. Always carry some cement, some vulcanizing cement to basically glue in your diner plugs, or to use when you use like a punch patch. Spare battery because I need the power meter data. I get really annoyed if it runs out halfway. So that's in there, and that's pretty much everything in the top tube bag. And finally, I'll just run through the things I have in the front bag. Again, this is from Tailfin. It's the Handlebar bag. This is the drop bar specific bag. The reason I chose this, if you saw my bike check video, you would have heard me explain this already, is that it's quite compact and small. I didn't want to overpack it. when you've got a big front roll, you can just end up having a massive kind of mass on the front. I did want to try and keep things fairly compact. So by using the smallest bag possible, that was kind of my way of keeping things under control in terms of size. So in here, this is my dry stuff. So as I said before, things like damp, that could be damp, like the bivvy and stuff went in the rear pack, but stuff I really wanted to stay dry went in the front, or stuff that I wanted to hand. So first up, this Albion, I kept this Albion active layer in here. It's not available just yet, so this is just one of the pre-production ones, but it was really good. It's like a hoodie, big zip on the front, so you can put it on over your helmet, and I just found this really good. I used it either on top of a descent, just to shove over my jersey, or actually in the evenings with the base layer, the merino base layer. This went over the top and worked really well. It was really good because you just pull the sleeves up or pull them down to moderate heat. I could put it under my helmet and keep my head warm. Again, as I said, I would have taken the balaclava in hindsight, but the balaclava and this as a combination would have been extremely warm. So yeah, breathable, dries quickly. It means you can wear it on the climbs and you don't sweat too much. So yeah, really, really rate this piece of kit. It'll be out very soon. So yeah, keep an eye on the Albion website. And yeah, that's definitely going on a lot more events with me. Also in here, my rain jackets. Now I appreciate I've just said I try and keep stuff dry in here. This rain jacket is probably the only thing that did go in there that could potentially be wet. Essentially, I put it in here because I was using it quite a lot. This worked really well in conjunction with the active layer. The active layer gives a bit of insulation. This would block the wind and trap some heat in there, so at the top of a mountain, I could put both on and descend for an hour or so and be warm. It's actually the Albion Zoa rain jacket, but it's a slightly updated version. I think this is going to be coming out soon, a slightly different fabric. Really love this. Slightly more packable than the other version. So yeah, I kept it in here mainly for ease of use, so I didn't have to get off the bike to get it out. However, if it did get wet, I would put it in the rear pack just to keep everything in here dry. So yeah, that's the Albion Zoa jacket, and again, really rate that. So that'll be coming on more events with me. And then the sleeping bag. Now I've already told you about the bivvy and the fact that I went for the quite heavy bivvy, and I went for a really light sleeping bag. This is the Sea to Summit Spark. Now it's only rated down to 7 degrees, so it's not the warmest, and basically the Silk Road, the manual stipulates you need to have a sleep system to sleep down to 0 degrees. Now obviously 7 degrees is not 0. However, I found last time I used a 6 degree bag. In conjunction with that bivvy and my down jacket and some down socks, which I also have in here, I found I was warm enough. I slept down to -4 and I wasn't cold. So yeah, that was my compromise. A slightly lighter sleeping bag, but more layers to wear. So I would wear my active layer, I'd wear my down jacket, I'd have all my kit on. Essentially, if it's below freezing and it's 1 in the morning and you're getting into bed, I'm not taking my clothes off, so I sleep in all my clothes, and it works really well for me. So yeah, that's the Sea to Summit Spark 7 sleeping bag that I used. And finally, I have the Albion Zoa jacket, down jacket. I'd ride in this if I needed to, normally early in the morning, but yeah, this was kind of, I guess, a key part of my sleep system. So by having a slightly lighter sleeping bag, it meant I had more room for like an extra warm down jacket. This is the jacket that I used. This is Albion Zoa, really good. You can ride in it. It's not down. It's synthetic. So if you get it wet, it's not the end of the world. And yeah, I was pretty warm. At no point really was I really cold on the Silk Road race this year. So yeah, that worked really well. And finally, one thing that I just need to sort of point out is the shoes I wore. So these are actually from Canyon. Now, there was a lot of hiker bike on this year's Silk Road mountain race. One section was 30k long, most of the day walking. There's always on and off the bike, so you always, sometimes at the altitude, you need to be pushing, or you're riding so slow you might as well be pushing. So I wanted a shoe that was kind of fairly light, fairly, reasonably stiff for cycling, and you could hike in it. And I came across these Canyon shoes. Obviously Canyon are a bike company, but they've got 3 pairs of shoes: a road, a gravel, and a mountain bike trail shoe. And this trail shoe just looked really good, and I reached out to them and they sent me a set, and I have to say I've been really impressed with them. They were really comfy from the off. Cycling shoes I find sometimes need a bit of bedding in, but these were great. They were really good for cycling in. They dried pretty quick. They were comfortable in the hiker bikes. I basically lived in them for 2.5 weeks with the touring I did before the race itself. So yeah, really would rate these for bike packing or these ultra races, or even just trail riding like they're designed for. So yeah, they're the Canyon, I think they're the Scamper shoes. So yeah, really rate those. I'll be using those again for sure. So there we go, that's all the kit I used for the Silk Road Mountain Race. Thanks for watching the video. I'll put links to some of the products on the screen or in the description below. So yeah, thanks for checking it out, and see you again in the next one.